Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, good evening, guys. Hold on. Can you guys
Hello.
let me in on the Zoom?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We do have quorum. We're gonna start shortly. Fortunately, my co-chair Zina is unable to come today, so I'm gonna be asking in here who's gonna be co-chairing and assisting me specifically for the hybrid in Zoom, who has a laptop preferably and is logged in. Any intake? No bite? Put your hand up, Venus.
Oh, Sarah, I'll help. It's Susan.
Susan, can you?
Yeah, I'll help you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. So Susan, can you introduce Ward
we're 12.
12? Susan from Ward 12, guys. Just also waiting to be let in to the Zoom that I can see it. Okay, guys, good evening. We're gonna start. We have a lot in our agenda. How are you guys doing, everybody? From the Zoom crew? It's gonna be fun. Okay, I'm in. Thank you.
Right.
Do we have a trust? Okay. Testing test. Okay, good. Sorry, I was just muting myself. We have a trustee online? Okay, okay. Okay, we have approved. Good evening, everybody. So we do have a quorum. And we're gonna do quick land acknowledgement. If you can stand up, it will be great. If you can't, do so. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of Mississauga, of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Okay, thank you, guys. We do have, I know everybody read on the code of conduct for tonight, but also I just want to acknowledge one of our PIAC member, Eden, for providing us about the rules on via email in regarding what to expect. Just the process of running and making sure that we're on time. I just want to clarify that we do have a hard cut at 10. Preferably, we need to go before that. So there's no overlap. If we can make sure that we keep our questions, if it's the same within minimum, and there's going to be timer on, including if it's from the Zoom team, keep it also on the chat. You can write Susan, Ward 12 is my co-chair for tonight, this evening. Okay, and let's begin. Let's start. We're on item 2, meeting administration, conflict of interest. Is there anybody that has any conflict of interest that they want to acknowledge right now? Both at the Zoom? Online? And Susan, you can always come out of the mute just to speak on it because I won't be able to see both of you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Any change of membership status? Anybody online? Okay. Approval of consent agenda. Any admin on the agenda for approval? And just introduce yourself, your name and your ward, please. Go ahead. So I'll be saying live or online.
Good evening, everybody. This is Eden Hagos, Ward 16. As per PIAC bylaws 4.7.3, I requested that an item be added to our general meeting agenda, and 2 other PIAC representatives from different wards supported the request. So I'm asking for that item to be added now, and it's the motion on a bylaws.
Anyone second it?
I'm happy to second it. Gordon Harvey, Ward 3.
Gordon Harvey Worth. Okay. Any other? What about if we go to the minutes, have you guys looked over the minutes? Any change to the minutes? Can we approve the minutes? Anybody second?
I'll second, or sorry, I guess who's moving the minutes? I'll move the minutes if someone seconds.
Someone else second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Musa
Antonio.
Ward 19.
Okay. Okay, we're on item 3, co-chair update. I know that some of you guys have received through it. I don't have too much in regarding to the co-chair update, except for we have to acknowledge that there may have been within PIAC some concerns some members have in regarding to feeling acknowledged, feeling respected, and making sure that is a safe place, that all voices are being heard. Just want to put it forward on it. We're all here for the same reason, and let's not forget about that, which is our student success, making sure that parents are engaged and advising to Toronto District School Board and their staff. In that regards, if there's any concerns or issue, please feel free to reach out to the co-chairs, myself, Zena, so that we can address it. Moving forward tonight, we have a lot in our agenda. Let's just be respectful, mindful, and make sure that we get things done. Thank you.
Sorry, Gideon, can I just say something quickly? Or Sarah, can I say something quickly?
Yeah, I think that was Susan to inform you because I can't see it, but go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Tanya. Yeah, go ahead, Tanya.
I was just going to request that everyone, there's an iPhone 2 here for the sake of attendance to make sure that your name's noted as being here. Everyone should update on Zoom their names and what ward they represent for the sake of attendance, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanya. Ward 17. Please, if you are online, please make sure that you put your ward, your full name, so that we are aware it's present. That also includes on keeping attendance. So I do see iPhone. If you can acknowledge if you are a PIAC member. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're on item 4, trustee report.
Hello, folks. It's Trustee De Levitis. I didn't have a written report. I was on a leave of absence last month. But what I did want to share is that there has been a significant amount of pressure from the Ministry of Education for the school board to go ahead with a series of budget reductions, budget cuts. What the staff have come up with are a series of things that are unfunded. And there's a mandate from the Ministry of Education to reduce spending outside of what they define as core areas. These things do include the swimming programs at the number of different schools, music program, Learn for Life, and a number of other things that would be difficult for us to reduce. So there's going to be a press conference tomorrow, or chair and the chair of the finance committee are going to try and forcefully make the point that we're underfunded. I think that's something that most everybody that has any dealings with the board in the city of Toronto, and really any board in the province of Ontario has a sense of. And we'll see what happens. But at this point, we're basically have been warned that if we fail to make budget reductions and balance the budget, that will be taken over with supervision. And these are significant significant pressures that the Minister of Education is putting on all of us as the board. And there are a number of issues that are troublesome with that. First of all is, we're elected officials, the communities that we represent elected us, and that process, if it's bypassed, it has to be done for really significant reasons. And there hasn't been any transgression. I'll remind folks here at PIAC that the board has been audited, that we report our finances every monthly to the Minister of Education, because that's the agreement that we have with him. And that we're not the only board that is having this difficulties. Basically, almost all the boards overspend, as the ministry calls it, in things like special education. But there is a significant underfunding of special education. It's to the tune of almost $850 million. And that's money that's being taken from one pot of money for something else, right? So there are significant shortages in the system. There's significant waiting times for folks that are needing to access services. And I think this is something that we all know. So this is a significant increase in pressure from previous years and previous ministers of education, and that's going to be a hard conversation that we have. We expect the province to table their funding, their budget on the 15th. We have not yet received our funding envelope. So, just as a side note, we're being asked to make significant cuts before we're given the numbers that we'll have to actually approve. And again, that's a very difficult thing to do, to go ahead and close schools and music programs and things of that nature before we even know what we're being committed to, or what's being committed to. And I'll just repeat, we're not the only board that's going through a deficit situation. It's literally dozens of them. So hard situation, difficult place for the board to be at. Not the first time, unfortunately, but I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to take questions and try and communicate as best I can the process that is in place.
Thank you, Trustee Matias. We do have on the floor some question. Musa Ward.
Hi, this is Musa Alu, Ward 19. How are you going to put this to the ministry? Do you have a plan on not doing the cutbacks and asking for the funding and fighting back?
Yes. So it comes in two parts. There's a press conference tomorrow. And at that point, we'll try and communicate to the broader community some of the main points. And there are a number of myth versus fact pieces of communication that we have that sort of state some of these things. Some of these things are completely in black and white, right? Like, it's not a matter of, we think this is what happens, right? Like, we know for a fact that there are dozens of school boards that are in a deficit situation as well, right? So the Ministry of Education needs to do a better job. And so to answer your question, the first part is the press conference. The second part, and it's still in the works, will be 10 days of action. This is being called, and it's very much a draft, and we hope to be able to get information out to you folks very quickly, so that you can communicate to your school communities about what's happening, right? I have at least one pool that would be closed down. I have literally 15 to 20 schools that would see music programs reduced. Hundreds of seniors. We're all being affected. These are very significant cuts. I'm losing a vice principal in one of my schools. If these cuts go forward, to be clear, I wouldn't vote yes on any of these things. I think that the ministry has to be responsible for the level of funding that they're giving us, because we've been making cuts, significant cuts, ever since I got here. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you.
Another question on the floor. Just introduce your name and the ward, please.
Andrew Waters, Ward 3. It's less a question. I just want to acknowledge the work that you did last year in the support of a no cuts budget, and I hope that that same thing will continue this year. I know the staff have to provide options, but the Toronto District School Board will never be the same if those cuts are implemented. And I also appreciate the comment you just made around. I think that the public needs to have clarity about who's responsible, and ultimately the ministry is the funder. And I hope that whatever action the board's taking it's a setup so the public and parents clearly know that's where the buck stops, and so that public pressure can be applied so we can have a Toronto District School Board that is suitable, that is meets our students' achievement and well-being needs.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Andrew. And 100%. So there, at this point, I don't think anybody is at the board is in support of any of the cut. I'm going to be straight, right? Like I think the hand that the ministry is playing is so over the top, right? We have a $60 million deficit. We're not going to get there by, firing a few senior staff. Like we're just not. We can cut the adult learning programs. That's $500,000. We can cut all the swimming programs. That's 12 million. And then we'll be back again there next year because the structural deficit that we have is embedded into the staffing equation, right? So for everyone's clarity, and to add to the point that Andrew was making, the school board manages the staff contracts, but we don't negotiate them, and we don't fund them. We get the funding from the Ministry of Education, and they shortchange us on CPP, on a number of other things that grow over time as our budget grows. So our gap gets bigger every year. So once we cut music, once we cut pools and all these other things, what do we have to go after next? Well, again, the things that the ministry would like to call unfunded expenditures are things like, the $40-50 million that we find for special education that isn't funded in the current envelope. Is that where we go after next? And then, and then what happens the year after? So we need to fix that formula. The Ministry of Education needs to take responsibility for what they've been doing for the last few years. So, I appreciate the sentiment. We're ready to fight. We'll do what we can, and we need you parents out there pushing for your children, for your schools. I don't it's not my vice principal that I'm worried about. It's all the 30 odd vice principals all over the city that we're losing. These are significant reductions in the quality of education. And you shouldn't have to go to a private school to learn how to swim. Like everybody should have the access to the basic elements of a public education. And to me, that includes music, it includes art, it includes extracurricular activities and a number of other things. So I'm hoping you folks that will get the stuff in your mailboxes and your inboxes over the next day or so, and share it with all your schools and push hard. Call your MPPs, let them know how you feel.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Didavides. This is Katrina Matheson, Ward 10. I'm wondering if the identity of the investigator has been revealed yet.
No, it hasn't. And for context, for those of you that didn't follow the in and outs of this, so we haven't been given over to a supervisor yet. There's another board in Ontario that has. But us, the Catholic board in Toronto and a couple other school boards have been assigned an investigator, and their timeline's very short. It's only a few weeks from now, end of the month. And to be honest, I don't even know what they would find out. They haven't even told us who it was as of last week. I'm gonna say Wednesday. The person hadn't been named. I haven't seen anything since then. So I can say no. And you know what they would find over a period of 2, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, that an auditor wasn't able to find over a period of a year and a half, almost two. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Matias. Thank you, guys. Anybody online? Because we got to move on with the timing.
No, no one online.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, last meeting, we did miss out on ward updates, hence why we put it forward on item 5. Any ward updates? Go ahead. First, Nicole, just introduce yourself and your ward.
Thank you, Chair. This is Nicole, Ward 12. It's been a while since we last had the ward update, so I have quite a few items to share as Ward 12 Willowdale representative, because I think these are meaningful things. So back in March, we had our Ward 12 School Council's annual meeting, co-hosted by both our PIAC ward reps, that's Susan and myself, and our local trustee Pei. It was well received overall with some active participation. I submitted a report to the co-chairs last month, in April, with some visual reference and the survey we just want to use across the world. So I guess because we didn't do it last time, so Lassa could share that document with other wards who wants to take reference. And we also want to thank PIAC for the outreach fund that we used for this. So over the years, we actually have built a growing network of school council members in my ward, and we have quite an active connection now. And actually with that connection, we saw active participation regarding the fundraising policy review after the mandatory contribution idea passed the GPC. So a lot of parents from my ward either joined the ward forum or delegations to speak directly to some of the trustees and about how they have been already supporting their schools and other schools in need, including some schools with lots of refugees who doesn't know how to do fundraising. So those are happening already. So last board meeting, we obviously saw the fundraising policy approved with voluntary contribution. So I encourage all school councils to explore meaningful ways to support other schools in need, including but not limited to fundraising. And I'd like to thank my ward schools for their active contribution in any way they have been. So now those are all catching up. Now fast forward to May. I'd like to highlight that May is the month of Asian Heritage Month as well as Jewish Heritage Month. I want to emphasize on both. And just this past weekend, we had in our ward a joint ward forum of Asian Heritage Month celebration at Earl Hayes Secondary School. It was co-hosted by local trustees and many volunteers from the Toronto Asian Parents Association. It was a meaningful celebration of unity in diversity, with many Asian ethnic groups participated, including different members to show the variety. So I just want to quickly mention also the same weekend, I attended the 23rd opening ceremony of Asian Heritage Month in Canada. The theme was Asians' unity in diversity, and how Canada, the government, and every different organization is emphasizing on ongoing efforts to combat anti-Asian racism through education. Now, I mention this because it is very relevant to the TDSB, because it is still needed here. And it echoes currently open TDSB public consultation starting April and ongoing to end of May for students and parents and broader community to participate, because now I don't know if there is yet a strategy, but you will help support the development of strategy, which I will speak to in the later part of the working group report. So lastly, and personally, as a proud member of Chinese and Mongolian descent myself, I volunteered as a member of TDSB Asian Heritage Month Planning Committee. That is a committee made of all volunteers. And I can see that lots of hard work has been done by many volunteers to bring a virtual lunch to all TDSB schools. That is on that is on May 8th, 1 p.m. So you guys are all welcome to watch and share, even if you don't identify, so that we can improve on culture understanding. And I see the same for Jewish Heritage Month. I can imagine that many other volunteers are working on that as well. And you'll hear more from the board meeting end of the month, but I don't want you guys to miss out as it's rolling out right now. I think both are important, and then I would like to bring you attention so that you can share with your ward. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nicole. And we have 6. Go ahead. Introduce yourself and your ward.
Eden Hegos, Ward 16. Just a brief update that in February, we held our ward forum in collaboration with Trustee Arts. I want to thank everybody who attended and also thank PIAC for the offer of financial support, which we will not be taking up. And the trustee was able to cover the costs, and I've let operational effectiveness working group know they can roll those funds back into the budget. The forum was fairly well attended, and we talked a little bit about the LOI consultation, which was happening at the time. Some community members got involved in that. We also have an advocacy group that has formed to advocate for the capital's priority projects that have been put forward by the TDSB, which we continue not to see the Ministry of Education funding. One of the schools in my ward is Secord Elementary School, which we also had some delegates at the Planning and Priorities Committee come out to speak around some of the boundary changes that were being suggested. Unfortunately, in this area, we have over 5,000 residential units being built in the next few years, and our school is at capacity and has been on the TDSB capitals list since pre-COVID. We have one of the oldest porta packs in the TDSB, and we're beyond capacity. So there is advocacy happening involving former Councillor Janet Davis and a number of other folks in the community, working with school councils to try and get some parent voice around getting the City of Toronto and the provincial government to work together to address these concerns. So I've said before, any PIAC reps who want to reach out to me, please do. We could use all the help we can get on this. This is an issue that affects all TDSB schools. We also did have some of our families come out and delegate regarding the budget at FBEC meeting as well. So I want to thank all of the families and community members in Ward 16 for continuing to engage. At the time in February, Trustee Arts mentioned that we would be having our PIAC elections either in the spring or in the fall. So it looks like it will be happening in the fall. So I just wanted to put back out there to membership working group that my term, although technically I was elected in May of 2023, I was not formally introduced and welcomed to PIAC until October 2023. So I'm asking that my term be extended to October 2025, unless, of course, we're able to move forward on the motion that we passed last month and do a formal appointment. So leaving that with membership and all of you. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward 16. That was the ward update. We'll get into some of those questions when we go into item 6. By the way, before we move forward, Susan, my co-chair, any question rep update from online?
No, just from Nicole Herbert that this week is Mental Health Week, and so to check out the CMHA website.
Thank you very much. So that was posted on it. So it's Mental Health Week. Thank you, Nicole Herbert, for that. Okay, we're starting with item 6. Working group reports. We will start with number 1, consultation working group. Please introduce the co-leads, if your name and who the co-leads are, and so on.
Susan, you want to speak first? If not, I will. So this is Nicole again, Ward 12. I'm the co-lead of consultation working group, and our latest working group meeting was on May 1st. And we had quite an effective meeting with quite a number of co-leads and staff as well participated. We have two major topics. So we discussed the current consultation process in involvement methods, and we also discussed the outreach methods and observed some discrepancies between different kinds of consultation. And so we would like to discuss and recommend some better practice, if not best practice forward. And we also put the key efforts on the two open consultations right now for participation. So one, as I just mentioned earlier, is the strategies against anti-Asian racism. Lasa, if you can click the link later, just to show the rest of the members, the upcoming sessions, because it was designed across the city so that some are closer to downtown, some are close to Etobicoke. I think that was happening next up. So that I appreciate if any ward member can share with your community, because again, this is not one person or one word thing. This is across wards for all of you. So I think, again, as anything come back to consultation, to have a better result, we need a better participation. You cannot come to any strategy or any results if we don't have people in the room talking about the important things like this. So that's one. And we also want to update the previous progress. So we, at least from my perspective, I really appreciated all the PIAC reps actively participating in the LOI consultation. We have been, like, I know a few members joined the meeting, spoke, and we also have passed the motion and submit formal letter. Those available feedback from parent representation. So right now, the research team grabbed all our feedback. So they said they're gonna present their updated proposal, hearing from all the community members and parents in the JPC meeting that is in the new school year. So I asked Dr. David Cameron and his team, if time allows, we would like to bring the research team to PIAC public meeting so to go through their presentation with us, given that we have put quite a lot of efforts into giving them our feedback. So that is still tuned. If beginning of next school year, we don't hear anything, just we will go back to the working group to ask again. And last time, thanks to executive superintendent's participation, we know that our last motion central interest program review passed the PIAC April meeting, and we want to ask when through the staff when they will come back to PIAC, because we know the policy is coming to PSSC in June, but I'm not sure when it's coming to PIAC. So that's another one. And if I can just wrap up and then leave it open to questions or answers. So the last part will be the big one where everybody's putting eyes on, the budget consultation. I see this as a consultation, but everybody knows it's a little bit different than the policy consultation. However, all participation is welcome and crucially needed at this point. So we'll see it as another way of participating. And we want to highlight that parents, including a lot of PIAC members, have already participated very actively in delegation, in town hall Q&A, in the budget survey, which already by itself has some debate in it. But we would like to encourage more consolidated, not individual feedback if we can from PIAC, which is where the next working group will be speaking more specifically about, and consultation working group is in full support of. So with that, I'll wrap it up and I'll open to any questions if you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole and Susan from co-lead consultation. Any questions on the floor? And then we're going to take also online. Go ahead.
Okay, question from Ward 16. The letter that we drafted that we passed last month, was that passed on for the LOI consultation by the co-chairs? Yes?
The letter.
There was a letter that we had drafted on behalf of PIAC. So I just want to make sure that that went through.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then I did have a question. I'm not sure if this is for consultations working group or staff. I saw in one of the communications, I think in the chat, that the budget survey was closed early. Can someone just speak to why that happened and what that means for parent voice?
Maybe we can ask the staff. You guys can answer. So the question again was why the survey was closed early, correct?
Yes, so my understanding was the budget survey was to be open until today and it closed early.
Go ahead. Jack, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd invite any of the trustees to comment on this particular issue. Concerns were expressed to trustees and they could have some background to share.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Any trustee Matias or Hastings? No, Hastings.
Hey,
go-
folks, I can try and answer the question, but I was not there for that part of the process. I just saw some emails. I think there were issues around some other questions that were being brought up, and what trustees wanted was to change some of the questions, but then that became difficult. And I don't know if that muddies the water or answers your question, but I think the attempt was to rebalance the questions. There were questions in there about, like, you know, what would you prefer to cut, kind of thing, right? And that was problematic for a lot of the trustees, and some questions were brought up. But I couldn't tell you about the timing. And I know that we're gonna try and open up the process, given the things that I was talking about a little earlier. So I think the more important part of your question, what does it mean for parent voice? We would like to hear more, not less, through the next 4 weeks before we're put in a situation where we have to make decisions on for sure.
Thank you, trustee Matias. Any other online, any questions for the consultation working group before we wrap up?
Oh, we have trustee D Williams online. I think she wants to answer the question. Is that?
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. If you could just restate the question. I think it had to do with the survey, the budget survey that was supposed to close on May 6th and was closed early, is my understanding. If you could just clarify that.
Go ahead. I didn't clarify.
Yes, the question is just why, and I think it's been answered.
Okay. Yeah. If it's helpful, I'll just add that, you know, it was because of the concerns expressed about how the survey was framed in a way of asking the participants to choose what they would eliminate, and special education being on that list, giving an impression that that's something that the board would cut, where in fact the board consistently spends more than it's funded for with regard to special education, and that commitment is clearly there. Just to give you a little bit of context, last year, that budget survey garnered just under 8,000 responses. This year, even when it was closed earlier than initially stated, this year's budget survey garnered over 14,000 responses. So there's a lot of information there. Thank you. There was a lot of engagement there.
Thank you. Trustee, yeah, go ahead. Oli.
If no other question, I would like to follow up with the question I brought up about the Central Interest Program report back to PIAC, if anyone can help me. Thank you.
Yeah, just before you start, Nicole, there's one more question. Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Trustee Deborah Williams. This is Musa Lu, Ward 19. If that was the case, that the board cares so much about special education, then why was that question put on that list?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I can't answer that question specifically. Special education was, I think there, based on the information that staff had previously provided in the categories of what the board is unfunded for, what it's receives partial funding for, and categories about what the board funds beyond the funding provided by the ministry. So staff had provided trustees with those categories. And I believe in creating the survey, you know, I can't speak for staff, but in creating the survey, they categorized those items in that way. But the framing of the survey, the feedback was that it was very problematic, and that's why the survey was closed earlier.
Thank you. Well, yeah, just a question, Ward 3.
Thank you, Andrew Waters, Ward 3. I guess, and I appreciate hearing from the trustee. So my understanding is that the survey was developed by staff. So I guess from an accountability perspective, like what, I guess, processes or learning is going to be in place to ensure that doesn't happen again? Like special education to me is, you know, it's a human right? Education is a human right. Those that require special education is a human right. And to whatever process went through, and I would assume that multiple staff looked at this, and then it went out to parents, you know, like what assurance can we get that that type of survey is not gonna happen again? Like, where's the equity lens? Where are these different pieces that are supposed to, you know, ensure, you know, that doesn't happen?
Trustee Williams, you can answer it or not? Okay.
I have my hand up if it's okay.
We also have, yeah, trustee.
He's the trustee on PIAC. I was just offering some of the information since trustee DeVries wasn't there during some of that back and forth communication during that time. So I'll defer to my colleague, trustee DeVries, but also happy to add in if it's helpful.
Hey, thank you, Trustee Williams. It just was clear, trustees did not come up with the questions. It was done by staff. The request by trustees is to be able to view the questions for future years, which, to be honest, was the request that was made in previous years that I remember seeing as well. So we saw the text of the questions at the same time as the rest of the public. Okay. Hopefully that answers how we came to where we were.
You have one more, and then we got up with.
Hi, it's Katrina Matheson, Ward 10. I just want to add that part of the problem with the process that happened here, it goes back to that accountability issue that had been raised earlier in this meeting, which is that the reality is that the board is framing special ed as something that should be cut. And so it is unfortunate that that message was communicated as being from the board, but it's something to keep in mind that from what I understood from the budget town hall, the ministry does feel that we are overspending on special education.
I think you introduced yourself.
Hi, this is Prasanna Jagannathan, Ward 19. So after the survey has been now closed, how are the results going to be analyzed and how will it be shared with the public? Thank you.
You asking for Trustee Matias? Okay, the question was to Trustee Matias. Did you hear that? You want to repeat again one more?
Thank you through the chair. Best I can answer that is that normally this process is managed by staff, right? We don't have the staff time ourselves. We don't have people that work for us to punch through those numbers. Normally that information is shared through through our report. It comes back through us in the form of a report at PIAC. That's what I've seen in previous years, and that's what I'm assuming we'll see this year as well. Okay, hopefully that answers.
Nicole, you do? You had a question to it, and we're gonna wrap it up.
Yes, thank you. We just want to follow up on the Central Interest Program presentation back to PIAC if there's a timeline to the staff. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have dates of the different motions that have been put forward by PIAC and when they will be heard in committee. I was going to report that later on in my report, but just to answer the question directly, CSIP is scheduled for the June PSSC committee meeting.
Thank you. But that's to the trustees, right? Not to PIAC. Is that to PIAC presentation?
Through you, Chair, the process around the consultation, so you know there's a consultation coming up around this. Within the procedure of consultations, it clearly states that once that process begins, staff will connect to the PIAC to identify the appropriate time to come to PIAC. So it will be up to you to say which of your meetings. So the options are one, a staff can come to you and have a conversation, or you will participate in the Community Advisory Committee consultations process. At the time, you can indicate to the staff when that will be. Is that, okay?
Thank you. That's clear. Looking forward to it.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a clarification on the motion though. The motion itself is heard in committee and decided upon in terms of actions in response to the motion. The consultation that Michelle is mentioning is something that's separate as part of any policy consultation, policy review consultation. So I just wanted to clarify, the motion from PIAC around CSIP will be presented at the June PSSC meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, consultation group. We're going to number 2, School Council Support Working Group, the co-leads.
Good evening. My name is Gordon Harvey. I'm the co-lead of the School Council Support Working Group. I am delighted, I am pleased to announce that Eden in Ward 16 has agreed to take up the co-lead position with me. She is a dedicated, very involved parent, and we are very lucky. I am very lucky to have her joining us. And I'm going to let her run with it tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, Gordon. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly do our School Council Support Working Group report, and we do have a motion to put forward as well. So our report includes the last 2 months meetings, March 18th as well as April 22nd. We have now updated our working group to include the strategic work plan goals from the current strategic plan. We continue our work to support school council emails. We are continuing our work on accountability of principals. I believe that Gordon has reached out to senior staff to request a follow-up meeting to work on next steps around principal accountability. We have completed a number of items, which I will not go through right now in the interest of time. They're all included in the report. One decision that was made is that seeing as the virtual schools continue to not be represented at PIAC, until such time as a PIAC rep volunteers through the Google form, the co-leads of school council working group, so myself and Gordon, will step into that role. So as of right now, Gordon and myself will act as PIAC reps for the virtual school, unless someone else really wants to do it. Or mildly wants to do it, or is willing to be bribed with food. I don't know. So just a reminder for all the wards that have requested funds for ward outreach sessions for this year. The events are to be held by May 15th, which is next week. And if you go through our working group report, there are some links in there with an event FAQ and event planning guides to help you plan your event if you haven't done so. As well, just to let everybody know that the school council working group has put in a request to operational effectiveness working group for a $300 budget request to be used for fall promotional mailers. So before the motion, I'll just go through our next steps and action items. So for those of you who submitted a statement of interest, like I said, please remember your event has to be held by May 15th, in order to access the funds that were set aside. Otherwise, the operationals working group will roll your funds back into the PIAC budget. We are looking forward to hearing from senior staff about next steps for the working group co-leads to meet with staff regarding the school generated funds reports and the principal accountability. As well, we had requested to PC CEO to provide an update into the possible inclusion of a PIAC representative or representatives on the School Council Innovation Grant Review Team for next year. Should I wait to see if there's any questions about that before I move a motion?
Well, there is one question from Ward 17, Tanya Ono, online.
Thank you. Well, just more for clarification. So the ward outreach sessions, luckily I was informed of them because I did submit all my forms to express interest for some ward outreach sessions within our ward. And there were a couple of schools that were opening some events to the entire ward to increase parent engagement, so on and so forth. And then when I went through the event FAQs and the event planning guide, I specifically wrote to this committee and asked if my understanding when we were first proposing these funds was that they could be used for smaller school council events that were open to the entire ward too, just to increase parent engagement and so on and so forth, or even for school council events to increase parent engagement. And the response I got in writing was that yes, you can use it for smaller events as previously discussed in previous meetings. The event planning guide is a guide, and it was a guide for larger events that were planned. So I got the okay to go ahead and request those funds and use those funds as such. But I'm getting a lot of flack in terms of submitting the receipts and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of stuff in the guide that they don't necessarily tell you, like they expect the original receipts, the scan is not good enough. They expect a participation, who participated, like a roster or an attendance form as to who participated. So there's a bunch of things that we have to do after the event was carried out in order to ensure that those funds are reimbursed. And that's something that should be forewarned to everyone using these funds or applying for them. It's not easy.
Yes, thank you for your question. I will say that is the reason that for the Ward 16 forum, Trustee Arts was generously able to cover the costs because I also experienced the same barriers, but fortunately I had asked the question before paying out of pocket. So I would like to refer that question back to either the chair or staff. Thank you.
We have a on the floor list of questions, Ward 3 and then Ward 19, Ward 3.
I would, again, Andrew Waters, Ward 3. I appreciate the comment from the member. Again, this parent engagement should not be this difficult, okay? Hearing like original receipts versus scanned copy. Again, I'm a CPA. A scanned copy is sufficient for all the audit stuff that I have to provide and the work that I do. So I do not understand why physical receipts is the standard that TDSB is setting, or TDSB staff. I also think that though I do understand, usually some type of assurance of the number of people that attended the event so that, for lack of a better word, to ensure that the spending is tied to people who attended and those kind of pieces. But like, honestly, it's $500. We're trying to do parent engagement here. And the standard, if we have to provide lists of parents' names to a public bureaucracy, it doesn't sound good. So I hope quickly staff can talk to finance or talk to whoever have to do and get to a streamlined process. I appreciate it.
Okay, Ward 19, the other question.
Thank you. Why May 15?
I believe that was a decision made by Operational Effective Working Group so that they would have enough time to take back the funds that weren't used before the ministry could take the funds back. So because the ministry will take back any unused funds from PIAC's budget if we don't submit things by a certain date, I believe the Operational Effectiveness Working Group needs time to make sure that they can rectify everything and make sure everything adds up, and then come back to us in June to vote on how to use any unused funds. That's my understanding.
Could have been May 30.
I think that's not a question for me, so I leave that to someone else to answer.
Yeah, you pretty much answered. That's all it is. We need to utilize the funding. There's a lot of other working group that want to do events that may be information training and so on, so we can utilize that funding. Hence why if you haven't used it, you have it until May 15th, I'm assuming.
Like for my ward, I've already submitted the interest, form of interest, right? I've already done that. It's just a matter of figuring out the dates with the trustee. We want to do it with the trustee. So my co-rep is here with me. But we were looking at, now it's very short date. I just came back from travel 1 month from UK. So I was looking around end of May. So how do we work around that?
So can I suggest that the ward reach out to Kadeen and Aaron to see if an exception can be made for you? Because I do believe that, like I said, my ward didn't use our funds. A lot of wards haven't used the funds. So as long as you actually are going to use the funds, I think you should reach out to them. I think the idea is just not to leave the funds on the table and give it back to the ministry. So if you're actually using the funds and you've got a date, I would reach out to the operations.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Now you can go ahead with the motions.
Motion, right? Okay. So the School Council Support Working Group has a motion, very similar to a motion that we passed last month. So I will just read it. I don't know if Latha, if you want to put it up on the screen. Motion against board suspension of school council operations. Whereas pursuant to the Education Act, Ontario Regulation 612, the purpose of a parent involvement committee is to support, encourage, and enhance parent engagement at the board level in order to improve student achievement and well-being by supporting school councils of the schools of the board. Whereas the Ontario Education Act requires school boards to establish a school council for each school operated by the board. Whereas Ontario Regulation 612 states a purpose of school councils is to enhance the accountability of the education system to parents. Whereas suspending a school council is in conflict with its responsibility to hold the education system accountable. Whereas Ontario Regulation 612 does not describe a process for school boards to suspend school council operations. And whereas at the January PIAC meeting, a motion was passed as to the following recommendation, but the recommendation was then set aside by trustees. Therefore, be it resolved that PIAC recommend the following. 1, that the Director of Education confirm that TDSB staff have no authority under Regulation 612 to disband, pause, or suspend school council operations. 2, the Director of Education will consult with Ministry of Education on an appropriate process for when school council operations may be suspended and by whom. 3, if the Ministry of Education indicates that a school council can be disbanded, paused, or suspended, that the process be put in place include appointment of a third-party arbitrator by the Director of Education to give final approval to any such action. And 4, that the Director of Education report back in writing on their position related to recommendations 1, 2, and 3, and any progress made at the last PIAC meeting prior to the end of June 2025. I move the motion.
I would like to second Andrew Waters, Ward 3.
Let's see if anybody has questions though. Do it. You go ahead, second it. Yeah.
No, second first.
Okay. Discussion? Susan, online?
None online.
Okay. Can we then vote on it? Anybody, maybe we shouldn't say vote on it, but against it? Anybody against the motion? No?
Sorry, I guess, is anyone requesting a recorded vote?
Oh. That's it, it's passed. Thank you.
And that's everything for us.
Thank you. Thank you, School Council Support Working Group. Number 3, Strategic Planning Working Group, the co-leads.
Hi, everyone. My name is Merce Charles, Ward 6, POREP and Strategic Planning Co-Lead. Just gonna get started with the working group report. So we had meetings from the last 2 months. So in March 20th, we discussed the strategic plan implementation. We talked about breaking it down to the relevant sections for each working group. Co-leads will facilitate the process within their groups. And so we had a co-lead update. So Eden Hagos has resigned from the working group. So we are looking for a new co-lead. On our April 17th meeting, we drafted a formal letter advocating for a no cuts budget and also talked about details of the TDSB budget aligned with the Auditor General's finding. We discussed coordinating with different advisory bodies for the joint advocacy response. And we also drafted a parent email calling for delegations to the board. And we have 2 motions that I will go over later on. And also another thing we talked about are in-person meetings in May, June, and August for orientation. And the next working group meeting is on May 15th at 6 p.m. So I'm gonna go over the first motion. So this is, if I could have first, this is the proposal for strategic planning in person. Can we have?
So the motion is online. I think for the,
Yeah,
on the
that's
floor,
the-
we don't have it any printout in here, correct?
You know, I have the other one as well, but anyways, I could do this one first. That's okay. So the first one would be the urgent advocacy and education funding. So PIAC letters to the Ministry of Education and TDSB trustees. So just, I'm gonna read over it. So the summary, so the strategic planning working group recommends that PIAC takes urgent action to address the chronic underfunding of the public education in Ontario by sending formal advocacy letters to the Ministry of Education and the TDSB trustees. The letter of the ministry calls for immediate in-person consultations with all Ontario parent involvement committees regarding the education funding formula and its implications for student equity and school board sustainability. The letter to the TSB trustee urges them to adopt a firm no cuts position in response to the ongoing budget pressures and to reject any budget that compromises student safety, well-being, and learning. These actions reflect widespread parent concern and call for greater transparency, accountability, and bold leadership. So our recommendations are the motion to PIAC. The PIAC approves the attached letter to be sent to the Deputy Minister of Education and the Director of the Enrollment, Funding, and Labor Policy Branch. Number 2, that PIAC approves the attached letter to send to the TDSB trustees. And number 3, the PIAC authorizes the co-chair to send the letters on behalf of the committee by email and courier. And number 4, that PIAC requests a written response to from the Ministry of Education and the TDSB trustees, that these responses be shared with PIAC upon receipt. And number 5, the PIAC prioritizes an urgent meeting with the ministry assigned TDSB investigator to communicate parent concerns and demand transparency in the review process. Recommendations to the Ministry of Education that the Minister of Education initiate urgent consultation with the Ontario Parent Involvement Committee on the education funding formula and its implications of student equity and school board sustainability. So the financial impact is minimal for the adoption of these recommendations. The only cost associated is the courier fee for time and formal delivery of the letter. This was approved at the last strategic planning working group on April 17th. And the letters are attached. I won't read over it. The co-sponsors are Eden Agos, Katrina Madison, Nicole DeWu, Gordon Harvey, and Andrew Waters. And the letters are attached in the motion.
I would like to second this motion. Katrina Matheson, Ward 10.
Questions?
Well, we have a question online from trustee Davidas.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I fully support the action here. I want to thank folks for putting together, and this letter is so timely. I'll be sharing it with the rest of the trustees at the end of the night tonight, depending on how late we go. And I just want to sort of push on the fact that we need to do more of this for the next month or so to make sure that we have no cut at the school board. So at a personal level, just want to thank folks for putting the work on here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody wants a roll call in regards about this motion, or we move, or we carry forward? Online, Susan, anybody?
No, no one.
Okay. No, thank you. Motion passed. We can go to, I know strategic has another one, right? Go ahead.
So the second motion is proposal for strategic planning in-person working group meetings. So this proposal is seeking approval for funding support for 3 in-person strategic planning meetings in 2025 to advance the implementation of the PIAC strategic plan. So these sessions will foster collaboration across working groups, enhance strategic alignment, and strengthen representative engagement, specifically supporting the PIAC's goal, operational effectiveness. So these are the recommendations. Number 1 would be PIAC approves the hosting of 3 in-person strategic planning working group meetings in 2025 to support, I think I just said that, and to focus on the advancing the work of all 4 strategic group goals and enhancing operational effectiveness. Number 2, PIAC endorses the proposed objectives and teams for the session, and including plan alignment, collaboration, capacity building, and accountability. And number 3, PIAC allocates a total of $6,000 to support planning, facilitation, delivery sessions, with each session costing $2,000. So the $2,000 will support the venue rental, facilitation, refreshment, childcare, translations, and supplies and logistics. So this decision was approved by the Strategic Planning Working Group on the April 17th meeting. So this recommendation aligns with the 2025 strategic plan adopted by PIAC and reflects the PIAC's commitment to advancing strategic goal number 4, which is ensuring clear operational effectiveness and communication among PIAC representatives. So the proposed session will build capacity among members. So the co-sponsor for this is Nicole DeWu. Also attached are the breakdown of the budget and the planned agendas for each meeting. So the 3 meetings are set for or planned for May 10th. The first one, June 7th and August 17th. And there's details in there for the proposed agenda, as well as the capacity building plans. In the appendix is the goals and objectives, and as well as the sample work plan timeline.
Ward 16 seconds this motion.
Okay, I'm open for questions. Yep, go.
I'll just add a comment because I sponsored this one. I just want to highlight an emphasis on the urgency for budget advocacy, which is, as everybody know, even the trustees are busy with a lot of long FBAC meetings, delegations. We only have this month of critical time to show our synergy and show our joint efforts and speak as loud as we can. So we want to make the first meeting very up in the calendar. We appreciate that everybody's going to be immediately available, but know that we don't have a long window to choose from. The FBAC meeting is happening soon, and then we can do only so much so fast. So thank you everybody for your attention, and I want to shout out to Mercy for making everything happen as fast as she can. So we'll just support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Any questions? Susan, online?
No questions online.
I think there's on the chat.
Sorry, yeah, from Nicole Herbert, does this budget request within the PIAC budget availability, allowing other working groups potential budget requests?
Point of order. Nicole Herbert is not a member of the committee and therefore cannot ask questions.
It's okay, we'll take through it. Okay, maybe we should ask on behalf of that.
Yes, so we had,
It's fine.
oh, yes.
And anyways, the operation group, there's coming up in regard to that. The question right now is if it isn't, then obviously it might be tweaked. But for right now, the motion, since it's been, can we pass it through if there's any recording vote? So if there isn't any budget through it, and it's okay. Ward 3?
Thank you, Andrew Waters again. I did attend the meeting of the Operational Effectiveness Group, and we'll be showing the budget to date as well as what was discussed, and there is sufficient budget.
Okay, now in regarding to the motion, since we questioned, any other questions? Anybody wants recording vote? Motion passed through.
Sorry, it's a point of order. It is a budget motion, so it does require a recorded vote, as is our policy, or sorry, procedure.
I stand corrected. Should we go and vote? Yes, let's start. Okay, we're gonna start with Ward 1.
Four.
Oh, yeah.
Ward 1. 4.
For it, okay. Ward 2. And I don't have the list, guys, in regarding, so membership, can you help me out and tell through it if they're available? Lata, thank you, Lata. Ward 2, there's nobody in Ward 2. I was in Ward 2, there's nobody there. Ward 3?
Ward 3 in favor.
Favor? Ward 4? Ward 5? Ward 6?
In favor.
Ward 7? Nobody? Okay. Ward 8?
In favor.
Through your chair, the proposing that Ward 5 was online. Is there Ward 5 rep still on the line?
Ward 5?
Is that Aaron
No.
or Carly?
Carly Cohen is online.
Carlene, are you online for Ward 5? We're doing a vote. Going one? Oh, her hand's up. Susan, do you see it?
Her
Yeah.
hand is not up and I don't think she's responding.
Did not, yeah. Okay, so we passed Ward 6, I think. Ward 6, sorry.
Yes. In favor.
Oh, we forgot. Ward 7? Regrets. Ward 8?
Ward 8 is in favor.
Ward 9?
In favor.
Ward 10?
In favor.
Ward 11?
There's no Ward 11.
Ward 12?
Hotel Nicole in favor.
Ward 13? I don't know if they exist.
No Ward 13.
Yeah. Ward 14?
In favor.
Ward 15?
There's no Ward 15.
16?
Ward 16 in favor.
17?
Ward 17 in favor.
18? I thought it meant 19?
Ward 19 in favor.
Ward 20?
Ward 20 in favor.
21?
There's no Ward 21 or 22.
That's it. And laptop, we wait. Yeah, it passes. Just wanted to act like it didn't pass. It passes motion. Congrats, strategic team. Thank you, guys. Any others? So. Okay. Membership working group.
Sorry, point of order, maybe? I just want to note that we are behind time, so we will need to extend the meeting. Just putting it out there.
Thank you.
We're at
Thank you.
8:23.
So special. That's awesome. We're good. Let's not jinx it. Membership working group co-lead. Go ahead.
Hello, Andrew Waters here, membership co-lead. Emily is unfortunately not available tonight. Just a couple quick things. So we did have our meeting on April 24th. We discussed 3 items, so election procedures and bylaws. And you can read the report. I think an update's going to come from PCCO office report later today. Emily had reached out to try to have a conversation around how to conduct the procedure that PIAC approved. But the PCCO said they would share their concerns at tonight's meeting. So there was no conversation that happened over the last month. The other piece that was discussed was, again, there was a recommendation that went to the Governance and Policy Committee on March 19th. And for whatever reason, the co-chairs were not invited to that meeting. That is the practice that co-chairs of any, both PIAC, but as well as other advisory committees can speak to the motion or answer any questions that trustees have. There, for whatever reason, PIAC co-chairs were not invited. Some members expressed real concern around this because of the item that was the motion was around suspension of school council operations, which really goes to the heart of school council's ability to hold both the board and the director of education and staff at schools accountable. Other members thought that it possibly was a one-time oversight and that they asked that the co-leads follow up with both the co-chairs and TDSB staff to determine where the error was made to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And then the last piece was to discuss recognition for PIAC members who are leaving PIAC. And there was conversation with a recommendation likely to come at the next meeting about kind of formalizing the sort of level of acknowledgement that will be made. And with that, I can take any questions.
Questions? Online?
None online.
Sorry, my apologies. The most important part, I'd like to welcome Carly and Aaron from Ward 5, the most newly elected members to PIAC.
Yeah, Nicole, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. A question to the membership. Do we know if there's any upcoming ward, like any elections or any planning from any wards? Thank you.
Appreciate the question. As I mentioned, we are waiting the PCCEO staff to provide the way forward, as the election procedures does require support from Toronto District School Board staff. And that support is actually a requirement under Regulation 612. So we are hoping to get clarity tonight on that piece. But currently there are no elections scheduled, and no elections except for previously scheduled elections occurred. There have been no elections scheduled under the new procedure.
PCCO office, you guys have any question in regard to membership or the process, or?
Through you, Chair, I may speak to that item now or wait till it gets to my, would you like me to respond to that
it would
now?
be perfect,
Okay,
yes.
so then we can
Talking about
bypass it.
membership, yeah.
All right,
Go
thank
ahead.
you to the membership committee in terms of their comments. I would like to read to the committee as the email I shared with the membership working group in which they posted in these minutes. And I believe I'm hoping that would explain. So in my notes, it stated in the membership minutes, it stated that PCCO has indicated to the working group. I'm going to skip the, it's a pleasure to reach out. As mentioned during the meeting, PCO shared several recommendations for revisions and concerns regarding the elections procedure that you had approved at the last meeting, and that those concerns still remain relevant, and that I didn't want to meet with a working group to make suggestions or changes to a document that this committee has approved. What I wanted to do first in due diligence and process was to ensure that in a committee that approved your guidelines, hear from my office that here are the areas that we will not be able to comply with. So it doesn't create confusion in the implementation at the implementation level of your document. So if you'd like to, I'll take the opportunity to share those areas now with the hope that this will enable me to then meet with the membership working group to then tweak those areas so then we can able to move forward. So I'm going to echo some things I'd said at the last meeting in clarity. So it was linked specifically to Section 5 in your ward elections document. And the section that, and I'll state the language. The election period must be continuous 35-day period, which can include PA days. The issue with that for the board is cannot agree to a continuous election period that includes holidays due to board policy. So all staff were involved in holiday periods. We have policy around that in terms of our engagement. The other section was, I mentioned before, and per Regulation 612, in your document, you stated that we will, as a board, use school messenger. We had requested that the language there be, that it be any variety of communication or available to the board per Regulation 612, because that's what it states in Regulation 612, per the board's responsibility in sort of ensuring that your elections are promoted and communicated. The other issue that we had was around confidentiality. In your new procedure, you created a new role called the Chief Returning Officer's role, and the Chief Returning Officer's role in the nominations, in the review and verification, and then in notification. And what we clarified was the way you've defined that role, we will not be able to share any confidential information with your CRO. So we needed that to be made clear directly upfront. So the committee is clear and that there'll be no confusion. And what we will aim to do is provide and have a conversation about what types of information we will be able to share with the CRO. And the other piece I wanted to flag was in the document under the section of collecting information, the PIAC chair was indicated there. The PIAC chair cannot collect personal information. That has to be a staff. And the last one was the document declare that The TDSB parent will declare that they're eligible for entire 2-year term of office. That's not that's not the legislation. So the member does not have to say, I am eligible to be available for a full 2-year term. And so those are the pieces that I wanted to flag. And I absolutely look forward to connecting with the membership committee now that this has been noted for the membership in what areas and how we then move forward in implementing your new procedures. Thank you, Chair.
Question, go ahead, Colleen.
I appreciate the comments. I think definitely those areas are areas that myself and Emily can have that conversation, and they appear to be completely reasonable. I would just make 2 points. I would note under the current practice, often the elections occur over PA days and those pieces currently. So that actually had been the current practice, but we can work to make sure that's addressed. Again, there would be no expectation that board staff would do any work on those days. It's more about making sure that there's like a 14-day period where people can nominate themselves or register to vote. Again, those are all pieces that, you know, can be handled by the automated systems that would be in place. The other piece is I would note that I think the reference to the PIAC co-chair, that was under the personal information form collection information. That language was actually pulled most recently from the elections forms that Toronto District School Board staff have been circulating over the last number of elections. So again, I completely agree that to get those pieces cleared up, and then hopefully we can have that worked out and provide in June. The unfortunate piece though is that then elections would likely not occur until September. But I think there's an option coming forward through the review of the bylaws coming up that may be able to be a short-term fix. Thank you.
Sounds like agreement. Any other questions? Online, Susan?
None online.
Okay, on the floor, I have one more. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Andrew. Question about the membership period. Is it possible to increase the term from 2 years to 3 or 4 years?
I appreciate that question. I think there is benefit to that. Unfortunately, Regulation 612 speaks to election terms or election or appointment terms of 1 or 2 years. So that does not appear to be possible under the regulations.
Who has the authority to change that?
That would be the Ministry of Education.
Can we write a recommendation to the ministry to amend that regulation?
My suggestion, I will take that to the next membership working group meeting, and we can make a recommendation to send a letter to the ministry. So we can discuss that at the next membership working group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, membership working group, co-lead. Now we're going to number 5, communication working group, co-leads.
Hi, that's me. So I guess I will need to surrender the chair for just this.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah. I'm the interim co-lead until such that someone else would like to lead or come on board as co-lead as well. So we submitted our working group report. You can read it. I'm not going to go through it. The only thing that we have is our motion. So this is a question to operational effectiveness with regards to budget, the utilization of PIAC budget funds. So communications working group requests that an amount of $8,000 be added to the current 5,000. But then I think Kadeen said there was only 4,000, then it would be 9,000, but to make a total of 13,000 toward the second phase work of the PIAC website around AODA compliance. Just a little historical background. I think when Seema was co-lead, she requested a $5,000 budget for AODA compliance. And then she submitted an RFQ, which is a request for a quote but none of the vendors took up that RFQ. So when I Google searched it a little bit online, we saw that to make a website AODA compliant, the budget could be anywhere from 3,000 to 30,000. We're feeling that perhaps that 5,000 was too low for any vendor to take. And so we're asking for a $13,000 budget so that we can make our website a little bit more accessible. We have a lot of PDF documents on the website that we need to kind of convert.
Okay, question we have on the floor?
I just wanted to add a comment to that since we are without an actual co-lead. So I was at the meeting where we had this conversation, and I just want to share that one of the reasons we are pushing for the AODA compliance is that while our website is non-compliant, the Toronto District School Board could be fined. And my understanding from, I believe, Aaron, who was was it on that call? Or Mark, I can't remember, the lawyer, was that that fine the TDSB would be looking at could be $100,000 per day. So we would like to avoid using funds or losing funds that could be better spent elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay. Online, any question?
Can I second the motion?
There's a motion?
No questions online.
And it's a financial issue, so it'll have to be a recorded vote.
I apologize. I should have waited for the second
Yeah.
before my comments.
Okay, Susan, anything else for communication?
No, that's it. So
Appreciate it, I know. And again, please, all the new members or anybody to join in the co-lead or to take part of communication working group. Okay, special events working group, co-leads?
Wait,
or we are.
Sorry,
A vote?
there needs to be a vote.
Was there a motion for?
yes, there's a motion and it's a budget item. It's a request for an increase. It's on the, so the communications working group is requesting an additional $8,000 for the AODA compliance to work to begin. And
Sorry, it's actually $9,000. The original budget was 4,000, and the request is for 9,000 for a total of 13,000.
Yes, that was my mistake. So it's just it's a calculation, but the total would be 13,000 from the original 4,000.
Okay, let's do that then. Okay. Since it's a budget, let's go on the vote. Yeah, hold on. PCCO has questions.
I was just looking at the operational effectiveness. So if you make this decision here, my apologies, if you approve this recommendation here, will that have implications for the budget outline that's in that report? Just seeking clarification on that.
The ward, go ahead.
Unfortunately, the two co-leads are not here. I did attend the operational effectiveness group, and that was captured in the total budget proposal. So there will be some funds that are given back related to the PIAC conference, the ward level engagement, and then those corresponding, the total amounts all offset to zero. So there's a zero issue.
That's great. Okay. I have the list. Let's go on the vote. Ward 1.
Ward 1 in favor.
Okay, there's no Ward 2, so we're gonna go to Ward 3.
Ward 3 in favor.
Ward 4. Can nobody see it through it? Yeah. Ward 5, I know you guys are new, Carly and Sarah. Sorry, Carly and Aaron. Ward 6.
In favor.
Ward 7, what is here? Ward 8.
In favor.
Ward 9.
In favor.
Ward 10.
In favor.
11 will pass. Ward 12,
In favor.
Ward 14,
In favor.
Ward 16,
In favor.
Ward 17,
In favor.
18. Said it before. Ward 19,
Ward 19 in favor.
Ward 20.
In favor.
Yep. Lata, we counted. It passed. Passed, congrats. Susan, thank you. Any other question? Anything from Susan? So Susan's gonna wear. Oh, you have a question for Susan? Okay, one more question on the floor.
Thank you, through the chair. I understand Susan's just helping with the consultation. So this might question be for anybody who has the knowledge. Who is editing or approving the PIAC post? Have we sent out April PIAC post? Because on my end, I haven't. So we were just wondering who was the, what was the progress? We understand it was from the previous teams. Just want to understand how is that process? It can be answered by anyone who has the knowledge. Thank you.
I'll have to take that back to the team. I just joined like a couple of weeks ago, so I'm still getting my my head wrapped around all of the committee work or the working group work.
That's good. That's good, Susan. Nicole said it. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Susan. Let's go to 6 special event working group co-lead. Do we even have special event working group co-lead?
Well, I'm here, but we have no updates as we don't have an event. Our event has passed.
Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ward 7 operational effectiveness co-lead. Yep.
With the co-leads being unavailable, perhaps I could speak on it because I did attend the meeting.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so perhaps I can just, is it possible, Latha, I can share my screen?
You should be able to.
Thank you. Okay, so this was the document that was discussed at the operational effectiveness group. So it's both a summary of our year-to-date standing as well as a proposal for amendments, some of which have already been passed tonight. So you can see here, basically our current net position is where we have additional $1,800 that we've not yet budgeted for. And you can see the difference between the gross expenditures. These were the budgets for ward level engagement, strategic planning, the website, the general meeting costs, and so forth. And so the proposal is there was identified that there has been underspending of about $12,000 from the conference. So releasing those funds plus about $6,500 from the ward level engagement, which would mean there'd still be $4,500 left. So still 9 ward events could still occur. And again, we only have, less than 2 months. So that's pretty reasonable. Additional communication expenses of $381. And that's to sort of cover off things like MailChimp and those kind of pieces. And you can see here in this column here, it shows by approving these would be increasing the total budgets to the following. So that would move to $1,181. The general meeting expenses, so it's $1,500. So to the current $1,500, so it'll be $3,000. So that's to support food and of the general meeting and those pieces. The $6,000, again, that was already approved. The communication was already approved. I think the mailers, we did a voice vote on it, so we should probably reapprove this through this motion. And then basically effectively providing grants to school councils. This is kind of a catch-all motion. So if we have any leftover spending that we would send out a grant request from school councils. They can indicate money they've spent towards parent engagement, and we could deliver those funds to those school councils. This would actually also support our ability to get our voice out, and that could happen in the next 2 months. And again, if we did have more subscription than we had available funds, then obviously it would be a random lottery that would grant those funds out. So with that, it balances completely, and there's actually still $200 left over from a budget perspective, and there would likely be, based on spending trends, about $400 of underspending. But again, it would sort of depend on what happens. So what I would like to do is move a motion to approve this amended budget. As reflected in this document, can I get a seconder?
I second that, Andrew.
So I think that's Tanya, and then I can open it for questions before vote.
Okay. I have one of the question, Andrew. So all these motions that went through, you mentioned it's part of the budget, but also in regards to Ward 19, who may have an outreach event coming up late, you mentioned that there's 4 opportunity, like 4 wards.
9 opportunities.
9.
Yeah, 9.
That's my question. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. Tanya, you have your hands up?
I do. So I realize that this is a budget for the rest of the year, and I do really appreciate this. I just wanted to put a little note there that as much as we did a fantastic year of actually coming under budget for that PIAC conference, which I think is, we delivered a half decent conference for a good budget, and we've got monies left over. I do want to state that if the committee can consider the fact that just because we were so under budget this year, next year, I think, could you just put a little caveat note that this doesn't necessarily reduce our budget request for next year, because we do have to spend quite a bit of money next year on getting a proper registration system, because we were really tight on budget, and I think we did a bang up job, but we could have spent to make our lives a little easier and get a little more organized. But that has nothing to do with this. I just want to put a little note there for next year. That doesn't necessarily mean we get reduced, I hope.
Again, this is just to ensure we spend all the funds for this year. The request for future funds for next year would be a separate conversation.
Awesome, thanks.
PCCO, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, just a couple clarification questions. I wonder if when you say reimburse school councils for monthly alternative banking fees, how would you be doing that? Are you putting out a call to school councils, asking them what was paid over the year, and then that 2,000 will offset that? Sorry, the 500 will offset that? Is that the plan for how that will be taking? Am I reading that correctly? Sorry.
I think you're referring to the working group report, which didn't actually have a motion. This is separate. This would be a grant-based approach. So any identified parent engagement that was provided, PIAC would support that. It's not specific to banking.
So just point of clarification, what you're saying is that's not a part of this recommendation.
No, the operational effectiveness working group report, I don't think actually had a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, online, any other questions before we wrap up? Go ahead. Yeah, Ward 1.
Yeah, Nabil, Ward 1. Andrew, is this the $200 we're talking per school, or is that something different, the grant?
So what this would be, we did talk about the operational effectiveness group, but then further was a conversation in the school council support working group to broaden it out and not make it specific to what's talked about at that meeting. And again, the amount that I would leave that to school council support to determine that and determine the process. But we need the approval now so that we can get that communication out so that school councils can submit probably by mid-June. And then basically the PCs, once the final spending's done, we'll know how much money's left. In past years, we've used surplus funds to buy pens and things and such like that. But I think this would be a better value use of money, plus also raising PIAC's profile.
If I could add, just representing my ward, we are one of the lowest wards within the LOI. We're the reddest ones. And many of our schools struggle to create a school council. And that's what we're working for, is to create more school councils. And when we have a grant like this, it's only applied to existing school councils. And it's not beneficial in creating engagement when engagement is needed, whereas the schools that don't have school council. So if we do have a grant that's going to go towards school councils, if we can think of a way that we can invest that to create engagement where there is not, to create a bit more of an equal playing field across the whole city.
I think that's definitely something that school council support working group can incorporate. The only concern is, and I really appreciate this, the issue is if the funds are not spent by the end of the year, whether or not we give them over to another council or not, they're going to go back to the ministry, right? So there has to, unfortunately, there has to have been spending already, and we're so late in the year that for this piece. But I definitely think that looking at the LOI or something, I would leave that to the working group to resolve that for the grant purpose.
Yeah, Ward 6. Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question and then a response. So my question is, what is the end of year for funds to be used up?
So the end of year for these funds is the board end of year, which is August 31st.
Okay. So to the question from Ward 1, I will commit as school council working group lead to work with any wards that are interested to find a solution to that. One thing I've done in the past, I worked with CSWs to create events that were open to all model schools around the school board. So there's ways that we can form partnerships with school councils, but we will take that up, especially if we have till August. That should be fine.
Thank you. Just a quick question in regarding to the process, would it be the same process as the outreach funding? How would that go in when it comes? I think that's what probably the staff are gonna question it a little bit.
Again, I think the form of it, but my assumption would be like kind of similar to how the innovation grant works. Is there be some kind of Google form or whatever to take this information in? We would work with TDSP staff and those kind of pieces. We come up with that kind of process. Ultimately, it's to ensure that there are identified spending that's already occurred this year that we can apply the funds to, and then those funds would be transferred within the board appropriately.
Staff, you guys have any question in regard to that? And just to clarify, this has to be, it's just between the June. So, and by the end of June. Any support for the school? for that extra money?
Yeah, my assumption would be that spending would have to occur prior to, most likely to mid-June, just based on an administrative purpose.
So it's a very tight component, very, very tight. But I think I will leave that to the school
And,
council.
and sorry, just clarification, this is spending that has already occurred as of like September all the way through the entire year.
Okay,
So that would be eligible.
go ahead.
My apologies, point of clarification. So you are reimbursing school councils for expensive already incurred?
Yes.
So they may end up with a surplus in their budget?
So there's obviously there's three sources of funds or within what's called the non-board accounts. So there's the $500 for parent engagement. There's the $300 for $3 to $1,000 based on the number of students attending the school. And then there's also any additional funds that have been contributed to the school through like parent donation or fundraising or those kind of pieces. Again, that third category, yes, these funds could offset spending that's already occurred, and that those funds would then sort of, again, sit because those funds can actually transfer year to year.
So you're looking to offset the fundraising dollars. So if they fundraise X amount and your funds will reimburse their fundraising dollars to be carried over to the next school year.
I think that's one way of putting it. I think the other way is that these funds would be spent first, similar to the $500 and the $3 to $1,000. And we know that, especially with the school innovation grant, that there was definitely not all schools could partake. There was a limited amount of funds. So that could be an example where if schools did go forward with that they could get reimbursed for it.
Oh, no, the thought was that this is reimbursement, because if it was for new initiatives, then I would see that reasoning. But if a council is now being reimbursed for something they did in September, they'll now have a surplus of that reimbursement. The way that surplus will continue without being absorbed by the board, if it is their own fundraising external account that they've used for that. So just wanted to clarify that that's the intent.
Okay, great. And I'm happy to connect with anyone in finance. Again, I am a CPA, and hopefully we can come to a solution.
Okay, thank you for that. There's also Ward 16. Eden, this is the time. For the
But, so we
bylaw.
need to vote, right?
Yeah.
We need a recorded vote because it's a budget item
Oh, yes.
or a roll call vote.
We still have to do a budget. vote.
After this, do we need to extend our time?
We don't need to extend because we had put extra time into the agenda. We just need to keep a close eye.
Okay,
And there's a hard 10, we can't go past that, no matter what, but we're almost done if we expedite it. Okay. For the budget for
There's a
operation,
question.
oh, there's still question? Okay, yes, Ward.
Yeah, so as Prasanna Jagannathan, 119. So if you're not able to find any school council for which we can give these funds to, what are our alternatives?
I think that's a great question. I think we will provide an additional backup solution at the June meeting that if we can't find those funds, additional way to ensure that they're spent out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ward 19. Okay, we're starting for the budget, Ward 1,
We'll be against for this one.
against. Ward 3,
In favor.
Ward 4. I'm going to disclose here. Ward 5, I think that. Ward 6,
In favor.
7 is not here. 8,
In favor.
Ward 9,
In favor.
Ward 10,
In favor?
Ward 12,
In favor?
Ward 14,
In favor.
Ward 16,
In favor.
Ward 17,
In favor.
18, 19,
119 in favor.
20?
In favor.
Other? Motion passed. Motion passed, carry forward. Okay, we do have an item that was added on the agenda, I think Ward 16 for the bylaw. Yeah, Ward 20, can you repeat that? Yeah, Ward 20 vote. Ward 20, can you repeat it? We vote for Lata,
In favor.
Stain. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Motion carried.
Yeah.
Okay.
motion is- yeah.
So just point of order, we're at 9:02, and since the subway's stopping tonight at 11, we do want to get out of here by 10. There are 25 minutes worth of items, starting with staff updates after my motion. So just flagging that. Okay, so where are we with this? Okay, so this is a motion being brought forward by a member, and I believe this was shared by Andrew earlier, yesterday or earlier today to all membership. We apologize if you didn't receive it on time. It should have gone out last week. So just to let everybody know where we're at, the Operational Effectiveness Working Group formed a bylaw subcommittee to review bylaws earlier this year. And at the last meeting that we had in April, we had come up with a process to move forward, recognizing that it's been about 11 months, and if we don't pass this at this meeting, there's only one more meeting left for the year. So we wanted to, so a number of members of that subcommittee are bringing forward a motion. So it's not being brought forward by the working group, but rather by myself with a number of co-sponsors. I do want to clarify, the bylaw subcommittee has opened up a process that allowed all ward co-representatives to have input into this process. A number of representatives were involved in that and gave feedback in writing or in meetings. And that was put into a spreadsheet that was presented by the Operational Effectiveness Working Group. So I do want to clarify that I did go through that spreadsheet and have identified that for the most part, the amendments that I am proposing that we accept tonight are in there as well. So this is an interesting process, but it's nothing outside of the PIAC current bylaws. So I guess I will put the motion forward first and then we can discuss.
So just have a question for clarification for a few members. Just to clarify, I know the co-leads are not here tonight, but the members are in attendance when it comes to the bylaw committee working group. There was a subcommittee created specifically to deal with bylaw component, and it was open to everybody to attend. Are some of the members here tonight?
So the members of the
Committee.
bylaw subcommittee,
Yes.
there are a number of us here tonight.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Through you, Chair,
So-
may I just ask another clarifying question?
Go ahead.
Was there a group that voted on what you're bringing forward tonight from a working committee, from the membership space?
From the operational
So at the
effectiveness?
at the bylaws committee meeting, the recommendations you're bringing forward tonight, was there someone, did the committee make those recommendations where they voted on? That they brought forward tonight? Just seeking clarification on that.
So at that particular meeting, we had agreed on a process that we were having another meeting in April. That meeting never happened.
Okay.
And at another working group, the strategic planning working group, is where the vote was taken to bring this motion
So
forward.
this document tonight came from the strategic planning conversation, not the bylaws working group conversation.
This document tonight came from me and other members looking through the operational effectiveness working group's spreadsheet and and compiling it, removing things that we consider to be too controversial to vote on, to bring forward bylaws that we feel should be able to get passed, but do not prevent. So one of the changes in the amendment would be to remove the restriction on how often we can review the bylaws. So it would not prevent operational effectiveness from continuing the work they were doing, nor does it contradict anything that they had received. But it's coming from a number of co-leads, a number of working groups, and a number of the members of the bylaw subcommittee, which never had leads to begin with.
Just one more question through you, Chair, if I may, just point of clarification about the process, just to be sure I heard it correctly.
Mhm.
So members who were part of the bylaws committee took elements of what was discussed within the bylaws committee, went to the strategic planning committee and drafted the recommendations that's coming forward tonight. Just clarifying process. Sort of, kind of?
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
Sort
all
of,
right,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 So I can read the motion?
Yeah, you could read it.
Okay.
so-
And this was shared with Latha, so I don't know if we can get it on the screen. It was not put into the Google folder, so I can't share it. But happy to read it. So PIAC has been conducting bylaw reviews since June 2024. The proposed changes are to advance PIAC effectiveness in enhancing parent engagement within the TDSB in order to improve student achievement and well-being. There is a list of the articles that are being changed, and when we get into the discussion, I'm happy to go through that in more detail if needed. So the recommendation that I'm putting forward is that PIAC adopt these amendments as outlined in the appendix. And just for the history, Operational Effective Working Group at the June 4th, 2024 general meeting agreed to recommend a review and update the PIAC bylaws for the 24-25 school year. And specific areas for review included motions and recommendation process, sharing of emails, general meeting agendas. Other areas as identified include, not limited to, meeting norms, using Robert's rules, forming a committee of the whole for new business, member discussions and healthy debates. And the working group was to provide an update at the September 2024 general meeting. The PIAC bylaws came into effect September 13, 2001, and have been revised 5 times since. May 2007, September 2011, June 2017, December 2021, and a special amendment on November 14, 2024. So a number of the articles, Article 2, Article 5, Article 8, Article 9, Article 11, have no material changes. And the remaining articles do have changes, which are summarized here. I don't know if it makes sense for me to read this or maybe wait until we have questions. But Article 1 pertaining to definitions, Article 3 pertaining to membership, Article 4 pertaining to meetings, Article 5 pertaining to working groups, Article 7 pertaining to accountability and transparency, Article 10 pertaining to amendments. And specifically, this is the amendment we are recommending to Article 10. Currently, the bylaws state that we can only amend PIAC bylaws once a year. We are recommending to remove that, which is why I said it would not prevent operational working group from continuing and bringing forward other amendments if they wanted to in the next few months or even next year. Article 12 has been added to reflect the procedure that PIAC voted on and approved on April 1st, 2025, as relates to elections and appointments. This motion is sponsored by myself. Co-sponsors include Andrew Waters, Ward 3, Gordon Harvey, Ward 3, and Mercy Charles, Ward 6. I move the motion.
Okay. Okay, open for questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Battery needed?
No, I can't hear. Yeah, there's an issue with it, but you can always come here. There's an issue with your mic. It's
Hello.
gonna take 5 minutes. They're gonna fix it. Sorry.
This one works. The PIAC members, and we are recommending that moving forward, any non-governance working groups, one of the co-leads could be a TDSB parent or guardian who does not sit on PIAC. I believe that the process could be very similar to what we do now, which is that people put their name forward at the working groups and they're elected at the working groups. I'm sure we could also take it to membership to figure out details if we need to.
Mhm. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm under membership. Article 3. You've added 5 additional positions to PIAC. Am I interpreting that correctly, or are those positions within the 44? So 44 ward co-reps, which are elected, 5 committee officers, coordinating working group members, co-chairs. Could you?
So those would be positions that would be filled by ward representatives. It would not be the addition of new members. It would be electing.
So of your 44,
Yeah.
you will elect from your 44, 5. You elect 2 vice chair, treasurer, secretary, and a position elected by committee membership to 1-year terms. That's not how this reads.
We would elect, so we already have 2 co-chairs, right?
Mhm.
So it's an additional 3, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. And there
So-
are more details. If you look at the actual bylaw document that was shared, it's written out in much more detail. This is just a summary.
Oh, no, but that's the clarification I was seeking.
Okay.
My apologies, just to my clarity. So when I read the full document, it alluded to that these positions will be elected outside of the committee officers. I just want to be sure that I'm interpreting correctly. So it's not that you will be electing a vice chair, treasurer, and secretary outside of your 44. Once the 44 is elected, from that 44, these positions will be elected, and these positions will hold a 1-year term. Is that correct? Just to be sure I'm interpreting incorrectly. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have questions online.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Go ahead, Susan. And
First is Christopher, and then next will be Anshu.
So, one of my questions is that now that you are removing the terms, the amount of times that you can restructure the bylaws, how often is there a limit to how many times you're going to be able to do this? Or are you guys going to be able to do this 4 times, 10 times? What kind of frequency are we looking at for bylaw restructuring?
Does anyone else want to speak to that? Co-sponsors?
we're just having technically a little bit difficulty. Just wait for that with the mics.
Hello. I think to change bylaws, it requires 2/3. I don't think bylaw changes would happen that frequently, but I know there's been lots of conversation this year around that limiting factor, and it's also created a lot of pressure on the bylaws review committee. And I've been here for 5 years, and it creates a lot of stress. So I think it's fair to remove that. Technically, at any time, it could get removed or suspended with a 2/3 vote anyways. So it's kind of redundant. My suspicion is we might have to do one more technical update based on the conversation that occurs with membership working group co-leads and the PCCCO on elections. And after that, I would think it'd probably settle down for hopefully a couple of years, and then we'll be back at it.
Thank you. And can I just respond to the earlier question from PCCEO? The election of committee officers is covered in more in depth in section 12.3. 12.32 specifically states all candidates for committee officer positions must be parent representatives of PIAC as of the start of the election period.
Okay, Susan, go ahead. We're still on online for the questionnaire, guys.
Yeah, and she's next. Word 8.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully you can.
Yes.
I have a question about Article 4, the third amendment. So the third bullet point where it says quorum shall be 40% plus 1 of sitting members rounded down if necessary. And in particular, my question is around the following. So it says members who have been absent from the previous general meeting, whether the meeting occurred or not, are not considered for quorum purposes unless they are present. Can you clarify? Because it seems a little obvious to me that if you weren't there, you're not part of quorum. Are you suggesting that the following meeting you're also not a part of quorum? Or if you could clarify, that'd be helpful.
So the intention of this adding this piece of clause is there could be a situation where we come to a meeting and we don't have quorum, right? And so then we can't hold the meeting. But those who did attend, then for the next meeting, which would be the regular scheduled meeting, the quorum would be based off those members. But if other members who were not in attendance did attend, that they would get counted to make sure we achieve the 40%. We could end up in a spiral situation where if multiple members aren't attending, that we would not be able to form quorum. And I think that's an existential threat to the committee. And this clause would ensure that doesn't occur. And it does speak to within Regulation 612 around that vacancies and such do not prevent the committee from doing its work. I don't anticipate this clause from actually being necessary. I see a lot of active engagement. I see a lot of new members coming on. We've had, I think, 6, if not 7 members in the last 2 or 3 months. Hopefully we can get the election process sorted. And I would hope by October we would be back to full strength. So yeah.
Okay, so my comment there would just be, without having had the benefit of reading the entire document, because it did come a little later, that I'm still not clear. Like I've heard you, and I'm looking at the words, and I'm still not clear exactly what would be the impact and outcome of this clause. And I'll just stop there.
Perhaps I could provide an example. Okay, let's say a meeting occurs, let's say April 1st. And at that meeting, there are a total of 30 members. Actually, no, let's make it easy for myself. I'm an accountant. I don't do well with numbers. So let's go with 10. Okay, so there's 10 that is the total membership. So that means 4 people have to be present at the meeting, right? If only 3 people show up to that meeting, okay, then what would happen is at the next meeting, the 40% would be determined off the 3. Okay, so then there would need to be, it would have to be at least 2 members there. 2 of the 3 attended for quorum purposes, but if additional people showed, they would count it to that calculation. So that's how it would work, okay?
Okay, in a simple term, basically means if people don't continue showing up, nothing will get done. That makes sense. Michelle, go ahead, please.
Through you, Chair, if I may just go back to 3.1.3 and appreciate the member's clarification. I wonder, when you speak of voting members of PIAC, is it viable that this section be replaced with those that are identified in Regulation 612, who they are? Because when I read A, B, and C, it doesn't quite align with section 12.1.2.3. This reads as voting members of PIAC will be the 44 representing each of the 22. And I think one of the things you were hoping to do and with your bylaws is to make them even clearer so that when your members or anyone is called on interpretation, it's clear. This is not as clear because it's suggesting that these individuals are voting members of PIAC, which means it's suggesting that there's a different process for them outside of your 44 members. So I wonder if you want to consider maybe just placing who voting members of PIAC are per the legislation, and that this seems more like positions that you are creating within the membership of PIAC. So everyone outside looking at that would get clarity that PIAC has 44 parent caregivers who are elected to council, including your community rep. So then those are your voting members. And within your voting members, you will be creating these positions within that. This doesn't quite read that way, and it could be interpreted something differently. Just something, no response required, just something for your consideration.
So actually, I need to clarify something that you just said, if that's okay. You said 44 members, including the community rep? Is it right now, as it stands, I believe it's 44 members plus the CLG reps. Is that correct?
So no, I'm not even looking at that. When I
Okay.
go to the legislation, you're right. It's your elected members identified in your bylaws, plus a community. Doesn't have to be a CLG, just a
Okay.
community rep. Right now, it's your CLG.
Yeah.
So not, the 44 doesn't include that. It's in
Yes.
addition. So I was
Okay.
just proposing that.
So can I propose an amendment that we take 3.13C and instead of having it as a separate item there, at the end of A, just put in including committee officers?
So can I speak? I would oppose that amendment. Currently the way it's structured is we have the 44 plus the 2 co-chairs plus the 5 committees. So all this is doing is adding 3 additional positions, treasurer, vice chair, and secretary, to support the co-chairs to ensure that the work's going to get done. If they are appointed to 1-year terms, then it is likely anyone would take that position because of the fact that they would then be potentially off the committee, right? So I think we are continuing our current process. All we're doing is we're extending support to the co-chairs. And again, like I appreciate the staff's attempting to do due diligence, but again, some of these items are intended to make PIAC more effective, which includes holding TDSB staff accountable. And so I would say that there's a potential of a conflict of interest occurring.
I have a question, and I'll give it, just to simplify it again, that's what I'm here for. The 44 includes, basically, it's the same as the co-lead. We have co-leads on working group, correct? But at the same time, they're just PIAC rep. So that's all it says. So I'm not sure if there's maybe misunderstanding or confusion. The 44, it just means that same group of PIAC rep will be voting on it. You might wear different hats. You might be a co-lead. You might be in the new position, new hat. But when it comes to voting, it's still going to be the same. I think that's clear, right? Okay, I'll give Ward 1.
Hi, Nabil, Ward 1. And excuse me, because I'm new to this. I read the paperwork. You guys brought some things and questions are popping all over my head. So I'm going to bombard you with stuff. I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to figure this out. So with the positions that we brought up, where we're creating vice chair and these extra positions, My question, when first it started, is how is this supposed to help us do what we're supposed to do? And when you presented this note, you started by saying that we're here to improve student achievement and well-being. When I look at the flyer, it says to support more effective engagement. But when I heard your statement, you want to hold the board accountable. So my question is, how are these positions or this change in the structure supposed to help us provide a more engaging and have more support within the schools? That's my first question. And then the next thing came up with the whole question about bylaws. And you mentioned that you removed the part that says how often bylaws have to be done. And then I get it. Things are changing and we need to change things very quickly. On my end, if we keep changing bylaws, I can't keep up. And are we going to spend our time changing bylaws, or are we going to focus on engaging at the community level to bring back what we're supposed to do and improve that whole process? And I just want to make sure that when we look at this, we set some sort of a limitation that the bylaws are not constantly changing, so that I don't have to keep reading bylaws every week and I can do what I do best, because bylaws can be tedious. And also make sure that new people coming on board don't have to keep relearn, and we're actually focusing our efforts towards what we need to do. And so that's what I seek to understand a little bit on both ends, because everybody brought some good questions, but I need some clarification.
Okay, just to remind the timing, guys.
Yeah.
Gotta be stick on it. Go ahead.
Yes. So to the question around engagement and student support and success versus accountability, I think that's a very complex question, and it speaks to sort of what is the role of PIAC and what is the role of school councils. And I think part of what we try to do here is represent parent voice and hold the TDSB accountable to that parent voice. And one of the reasons that we are amending the bylaws is to ensure that when we say parent voice, it's not the same voices sort of sitting at the table for a very long time, but also to make it clear that that what the PIAC reps are trying to get done, the work that we're actually trying to get done, gets done. So what you've just asked has been my experience for 2 years, is we've spent 11 months reviewing these bylaws. So all I've been doing is reading bylaws. And at some point, I think we need to make a decision and move forward. So I think what I'm hoping here is that we can come to some agreement that some of these changes here, or the changes that we're proposing here, will make things move better for us. For example, right now, quite a lot falls on the co-chairs, and today we only have one co-chair present. If we had somebody in a vice chair position, they would be able to step in to support. We've had a lot of back and forth this year with minutes, because nobody on the PIAC reps is responsible for minutes. And the same thing goes with finance, right? So we're looking to ensure that there is a stronger committee of folks that are supporting that really difficult work, so the rest of us can really engage in the working groups. Because it's not fair, I think, to have two parents bear the responsibility of chairing a organization or a board committee that represents 250,000 students and their families, right? So we are trying to find ways to share the work, and also to give ourselves better processes so we can actually move things forward.
Okay, I think I have a list and I also have it online. I see Azim Ward 21, but PCCO office, Azim, and then.
Through you, Chair, I'll defer until you address your parent reps online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Just a quick follow-up, because thank you for answering that. And I agree with you. It shouldn't be the responsibility of a few to sit there and to keep different faces representing us. Maybe we can amend this section so that there's different people sitting in those positions, let's say every month. so that we have a change of responsibility. We don't have all the same faces, and we have diversity and a little bit more inclusion from the whole group. And maybe have a situation where bylaws can be amended, but we keep it to 2 times a year so that we're not constantly reworking things, because we do need to have that flexibility. Like you said, we have to vote. So let's keep it to 2. This way I don't have to worry. I know it's coming twice a year, like tax season, and I'm good to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Ward 1. Appreciate it. Azim, Ward 21, and then we have Mercy. And we're just checking on time, guys. We still have 2 items. Azim, go ahead. Azim, you have your hands up?
Yeah, it's my turn, right?
Yeah. Ward
Sorry, yeah.
21.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Well, what I feel is that we are adult parents and out of school. And with this changes in the bylaws and the numbers, so it's a bit of homework. So I feel there is a suggestion from my side that number of meetings that we have over a period of 1 academic year should be increased, so that first we need to get used to what the bylaws are changing. Well, change is inevitable. Of course, we have to adopt changes, but we need to be educated for that too. So every time there is a change and we have to go back in our memory lane to find out what was the change and what am I speaking or what am I thinking. So we need orientation. If something has changed, because there are new people coming in, for them it's easy, but for old people who want to stay with PIAC, they have to be trained or, I don't know, oriented. That's what I mean to say. That's it.
Thank you, Azim. Ward Mercy, Ward 6. And we're gonna.
Sorry, can I just respond to Ward 1? I'm accepting the suggested amendment to limit bylaw reviews to twice a year. We'll make that
second
amendment to the motion. We'll add that to the motion.
We'll add that, yes. Mercy, go ahead.
I move that we call the question and that we can. Oh, sorry. I call the question and move to a question, to a vote.
Okay.
Through you, Chair, my hand was on that list before that question was called. I
Yes,
wonder
it
if I
was.
have
It
the
was.
opportunity to
you had it.
speak. Thank you. I wonder if, I just wanted to say that when I come to these meetings and engage as a staff of the board, the intent, I didn't realize that that posed a conflict of interest for the board. We support your operations, we support your elections. And so when I provide feedback, it's with that intent that the decisions here does have implications for the work that we are, as I've heard earlier today, legislated to do. So what I want to ensure when I ask these questions, it's not to pose a conflict. And where that conflict is, I would appreciate to be called. I'm very open to the calling. And so for me, I'm just seeking clarification on the document that's before. So I just have a couple things. So under the vice chair role, just clarification if that falls within Regulation 612.
Regulation 612 is silent on vice chair. It does allow for other officer positions. Vice chair would be another position and therefore would be allowed.
So what you're saying is when the language in the legislation states, if I may just read it for a moment, that a PIC shall have a chair, or if the bylaws of the committee so provide, co-chairs. So where it says other officers, I'm reading this, the legislation actually names that you will have a chair or co-chair per your bylaws. So other officers aligns to the other officers you've identified, a secretary, a treasurer, but the legislation speaks to governance of that you will have a chair or so provided co-chairs per your bylaws. So your bylaws can speak to co-chairs. I don't believe it can speak to co-chairs and vice chairs.
Can I clarify is there a limit on the number of co-chairs?
So let's accept an amendment to call it, I don't know, the grand poobah or whatever we want to do. Ultimately, it's another officer position that would support the co-chairs. So it can be an officer at large or whatever we want to do.
Okay, we can amend vice chair to officer at large.
Through you, Chair, thank you. Appreciate your indulgence on this. 3.1.6, could you clarify what that is, selection process? Is that the appointment process? Is that what you're referring to down in 12? I wasn't sure what this was linked to.
Selection process refers to a number of things. 12.1, the election procedure, 12.2, the appointment procedure, as well as how we would be selecting our parent community representatives, and as well as the committee officer elections.
So this is where I'm a little confused. And please note that I'm only doing this because to have another bylaws approved, that creates more confusion because we're trying to resolve confusion of the existing document. So when you say that the rep shall be selected by 12/12, you're not referring to the elections of your 44 members, correct?
Yes, we are.
So, so now you're identifying it as a selection process versus an election process, which has very different meanings.
Because we've also amended to include an appointment process, which is one of the reasons I'm moving this motion. Because
but
as of right now, we don't have
No, but
a
that's
way
the
to move forward with
clarification.
elections. So we're asking to be able to appoint people so that we don't have ward vacancies for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years like we've had in the past.
So through you, Chair, that's the clarification I'm seeking. Is the language appointment or is the language of selection?
The language
Those
is
things mean
selection,
very
and then it
different
refers you to 12.1, 12.2, 12.5, 12.3, where it elaborates on each of those. Selection includes election, appointment, as well as community representatives, which are to be put forward by the community groups themselves. So it covers a number of different ways of bringing people to sit on the committee to allow us to fill vacancies.
Okay, just to clarify, and I'm going to repeat it, I think we're just going around with words, and I like to simplify things for everybody. Again, this new appointing position is PIAC rep, yes or no? These are elected PIAC rep in your ward, the same position you, yeah, it is. The same position you come in, just like the working group where we select within the working group a co-lead. That's what it is. We're not, I think the confusion with the staff, I'm not sure, Michelle, is the clarification is assuming that there's gonna be, let's say, outside parents coming in with this position, or some members that are leaving and then they're trying to come in. Is that what it is?
I think it's also partly relates back to the earlier conversation around the election appointment procedure that we all passed last month.
Yes.
And the questions that PCCEO raised about that. So this is referring right back to that procedure. And I believe we had agreed that that would be taken up at working group. I do have to
Sorry,
ask.
point of order. I'd like to second Mercy's wording to call the question so we can move to a vote.
So we had it one more, but Michelle had the question through it. I know I interrupted.
I appreciate this committee's indulgence. The intent is not to
And we're gonna wrap
delay your process. My last comment will be language in a bylaws that speaks of elections versus appointments versus selections. Those three words mean very different things and requires very different process. You use them interchangeably throughout the document, which opens it for a variety of, and through you, Chair, I will leave it at that.
And just in response, we do not use it interchangeably. When we say selection, we mean selection, which is a catch-all for appointment as well as election, which are outlined in 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. We say selection as a catch-all for those. And then when you go deeper into the bylaws, you can see all of those. So do we need to vote on the
The time is gone.
moving the question? Or do we just vote?
So
What's the process?
are there anyone who would request a recorded vote for that closure motion?
So Mercy has moved that we close the question, we end the debate, and we go straight to a vote on this amendment. Does anyone want a recorded vote, a roll call vote on Mercy's motion, not on the bylaw motion?
Ward 20.
Okay, we need one more.
No, it requires 3.
Ward 1.
Okay, there you go.
It requires three.
It
Who are
requires
the
three.
Ward 1, Ward 20,
They mentioned
Ward 8.
Ward 8. Thank you. So the motion on the table right now is that we move to vote immediately on the bylaws with the amendments. So
Oh,
we're
with
voting on whether we're voting. That's Robert, according to Robert's Rules of Orders, there's been a motion made to vote. So we're voting on whether we're voting.
This includes all the amendment that was brought up, correct?
We're not voting on the bylaws, we're voting on whether we're voting. Whether we can go to a vote now, or do we need to continue with the discussion? Or do we need to consider tabling this for another time? So we need to do a recorded roll call vote, ward by ward, on whether we are ready to vote on the proposed bylaw amendments, including the amendments from the floor from Ward 1 and from PCCEO, which I accepted.
Okay, gonna start it. Ward 1,
Ward 1 against.
okay, there's no Ward 2. Ward 3,
Ward 3 in favor.
Ward 4, 4, Ward 5, Ward 6,
In favor.
we couldn't hear.
In favor.
Okay. Ward 7, there wasn't anybody. Ward 8,
Against.
Ward 9,
In favor.
Ward 10. Ward 10,
In favor.
there's no 11. Ward 12, sorry guys.
Just want to ask the co-chair, would you want to vote?
You can vote.
Okay, Ward 12, Nicole, in favor.
In favor. Okay, Ward 14. Of 15, Ward 16,
In favor.
Ward 17,
In favor.
Ward 18, Ward 19,
In favor.
Ward 20,
Against.
and that's about it. Lata?
Three against,
3 against,
8 in favor.
8 in favor. Let's go.
Motion passes by 2/3.
Thank you.
So now we go to a vote on the amendments. So I am moving the motion that we amend the bylaws, including the amendment from Ward 1 to restrict the bylaw amendment process to twice a year, as well as accepting the amendment from PCCEO to change the role of vice chair to officer at large. And there's no questions at this point because we've closed the questions because we voted to close the questions. So we will be taking a roll call vote, and this motion needs to pass by a 2/3.
2/3, and it's a vote of individual members, not wards.
Individual members as well as co-chairs can vote, I believe. It's not a ward representative vote. So Ward 12, for example, you get 2 votes.
Okay, we starting? Go ahead.
Through you, Chair, may I, the last round of votes, not everyone in the room voted. So I wonder if you could just do a count of how many members are actually in the meeting, so we are clarified as to, because if it's now individual votes, it's not ward-based votes. To just clarify, we have 18 people in the room?
Well, there's 20. I think this is the reason, yeah.
So Ward 5 abstained from the last vote. And then for those of us in the room who represent the same ward, they did not vote twice. For example, on the last motion, Ward 3 only got 1 vote.
So
that-
when it's a vote by ward, it's 1 vote per ward. When it's a vote per member, it's 1 vote per member. So if a ward only has 1 member, that ward only gets 1 vote. If there are 2 members, that ward gets 2 votes, but that's how our bylaws are currently written. So it's per member. So each member will be offered the chance to vote, and then we will tally it that way.
Okay.
Andrew, point of clarification, both members in that ward have to be present. A ward just doesn't get 2 votes because it has 2 positions.
No, so the way our bylaws are written, similar to the election procedure for co-chairs, is it's a member vote. It's not a ward vote.
So if my
They have to be present. They actually have to vote. So if someone's not present, you're like, say your co-chairs, co-lead's not, co-representative's not present, you don't get 2 votes. Only the people that are in the room or online get a vote, and we will see how that goes.
Perfect, thank you.
That's clear. Okay. Should we start?
I would suggest you call Ward 1, and then if there's 2 people present, they can each vote
That's what we're
separately.
gonna, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna call Ward 1, individual 1.
There's only one person present today, and we're against.
Okay. There's nobody in Ward 2. Ward 3,
Ward 3, Gordon Harvey in favor.
Ward 3, Andrew Waters in favor.
so 2 for Ward 3. Ward 4,
I think Ward 4 is absent.
absent, okay. Ward
Less-
5, I think they abstained.
Tamasha.
Okay. Ward 6,
There's only a member present and in favor.
Ward 6, 1. Ward 7? No. Ward 8,
Only one member present and against.
Ward 9,
In favor.
just 1? Or just 2?
I'm online in favor.
Okay, so 2 for Ward 9. Ward 10,
Katrina Matheson in favor, and I have my colleague online. I'm not sure if he's there.
Yes. Mark Unger in favor.
okay, so 2 for Ward 10. There's nobody. 11. Ward 12,
Ward 12, Nicole in favor. Susan?
Yes, Susan, Ward 12 in favor.
So 12, Ward 12 in favor, no 13. Ward 14,
In favor.
okay, that's 1 only.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Ward 14. Ward 16,
Eden Hagos in favor. My co-lead is not present.
okay, so 1 for Ward 16. Ward 17,
Tanya Ono in favor. My co-representative is not present.
okay. Ward 18. Nobody's there, okay, thank you. Ward 19. You guys have-
We are 2 here. I'm in favor.
Against.
Okay, so 1 against and 1 in favor for Ward 19. Okay, Ward 20,
Against?
is it just 1? Okay,
And do co-chairs get a vote? I believe co-chairs get to vote on this as well, Sarah.
in favor.
So 1, 2.
Okay, we're waiting for Lata for the.
4 against. Is it?
14 in favor and 4 against.
Passes.
Passes, thank you. Thank you.
I would like to move that we extend the meeting by 15 minutes to give staff time to do their updates.
No,
Or-
no, we said hard pass by
No?
10, so it has to be shortage.
Okay,
Unfortunately, we made it, because that was the goal, is to keep it on time, and I said it at the beginning of the meeting
okay.
at 10 o'clock.
So we have
about
7
that.
minutes left.
Yeah, so that's why, but the good news is, I know Michelle, she mentioned of the PCCO before, so that should be expedited, but go ahead, staff, update.
Madam Chair, I had a question that I wasn't able to ask, just for clarification and for our own understanding. So if it's okay to ask based on the motion that was just passed. So the motion that was just passed called for bylaw amendments 2 times a year, and that was passed. So since we have had 2 bylaw changes already this year, that also means to me that the work of the bylaws subcommittee is not going to be considered any longer this year. Is that?
So your
I believe
question is
that's
whether the
true.
November amendment that allowed people,
Right.
that the special amendment, right, that allowed the extension, whether that counts as one of the two,
And
and whether we mean a calendar year or a school year.
So I think the new bylaws say school year. My interpretation of what would be is we've amended the bylaws. So it's kind of like sort of a fresh start break point. But again, if people want to challenge it and we have to unfortunately not do anything in June and have to wait till September.
And just to clarify, the amendments that the working group had that they have not brought forward were all brought forward by members who are here and who withdrew their comments in order to allow this amendment to pass. So for example, Andrew had suggested some amendments, but because they required more thought, he has taken them back. So those are the ones that were not included in this amendment. Everything that we included in the amendment were sort of the less controversial ones. Just
the
to
point
clarify
I'm
that.
making in answering the question, the point I'm trying to make is if there are no more bylaws being entertained to be changed this year, I think the bylaw subcommittee needs to be told there's no more work for you this year. That's all I wanted to say.
That's fine, yeah.
Because if bylaw changes can only happen twice a year, then anything else that the bylaw subcommittee was planning to bring to PIAC is no longer permissible in this school year.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I think you had a question. And then Michelle.
Hi, this is Prasanna Jagannathan, 119. So as our member said, if the two amendments are already over for this year, then how can, additional bylaws can be modified or changed? Because then we need a bylaw to allow more bylaw changes.
So my suggestion is we can bring that back to operational effectiveness or the bylaws review and have that conversation. We have 7 minutes left. We've not had a staff update
Yes.
in like a couple of meetings. So
Given that
let's
operational
focus on that.
effectiveness working group was not here to present their amendments, which we would have voted on in June, there's no chance of us voting in June anyways at this point. So I think this question is a moot point.
Okay, I think we're gonna give it to the staff, and I think what the questions, again, to make it very clear, we already done it through it. Bylaw committee, it's just based on bylaw committee. It was still members of operational working group that created a subcommittee, and they can always go back to the operational sub and working group. We will revise if there's any question later on, but this has been approved and it's done. So we move forward, but
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Jack.
Madam Chair, this update shouldn't take too long. I just wanted to report back on progress of the motions as they're moving through committee. So first of all, for the past 2 months, the meeting ended without us being able to provide our reports. So I'm coming back to you with a report on the suspension of school operations motion. And it was already noted that the motion was set aside. So I just want to be clear and provide a fulsome update. When the agenda item came up for discussion, the recommendation was moved but not seconded as required by section 5.15.2 and 5.15.5 of the bylaws. The chair also indicated that it involved a matter before the courts and the matter was not discussed. So that was in relation to the suspension of school council operations motion that was put forward in January. There were 2 other motions put forward in January. One was around the lunchbox versus school cash online program. Part of that motion was fulfilled in the February meeting with the lunchbox presentation, but it is going to PSSC committee tomorrow evening. And the parental volunteers and coaching motion from January is also going to PSSC committee tomorrow evening. Related to the motions on April 1st, the CSIP motion is going to PSSC on procedures motion that was moved on April 1st is going to GPC on May 28th. This concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yep, Ward 12.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to thank Executive Superintendent for the clear timeline. And I just want to say the same thing with the ward update. We need this valuable and timely report back every meeting. That's why I said in the executive meeting, when we put an agenda, we need to be clear and we need to commit to it. So every team, including senior staff, can report back timely, so we don't have to discuss about things that like lunchbox that was 2 months ago. We need to know the next month. So with that, I would appreciate if all team member can, like this meeting, first time in a long while, stick to the agenda and get it done. Thank you.
Go ahead. Jill, you have it, and also you can continue with PCCO. We have like 3 minutes.
Through your chair, just the last piece for me. I would be troubled if I left this meeting without addressing the bylaw amendment May 6 communication that was shared with all PIAC reps that named members of the operational working group as individuals who was trying to, I quote the language, to block or not move forward the recommendation for this evening. And at the exec meeting, I understand that was not intent. At the exec meeting, there was conversations that took place around what items get on the agenda, the order they get on the agenda. And the way this communication read is highly problematic in the way it named and called out individual members who was doing essentially what this committee charged them to do. And I just think I want to simply say to this committee, the way you continue to engage each other, speak to each other, or in small working groups or in this large spaces matter. And the environments in which you create when these types of things and allegations, when individuals are not even in the space to speak to whether this was accurate. I just want to say, Chair, that as through you, that there's got to be a way where this committee begin to think about civility and the way in which it engages and communicate. Thank you.
Point of order, it does contain in our current code of conduct that conversations such as these are supposed to happen in smaller spaces. And I really feel that a precedent has now been set by TDSB staff, which hopefully none of the membership will go to that level. But you know, we are here.
Point of personal privilege that I did experience microaggressions at that executive meeting, and that TDSB staff have yet to reach out to address the fact that those microaggressions occurred. And I thank the member who sent that email to address the fact that there was malfeasance occurring.
Through you, Chair, I appreciate the comments of both members. And this is exactly the kind of environment and culture that needs to be addressed. Thank you, Chair.
And thank you, guys. Appreciate everybody's point. Motion to end.
I motion Ward 16.
Yep. Seconded. And thank you to my co-chair that helped us, Susan, Ward 12. Appreciate it for your support. For the staff, for all the members, have a great evening. Good night. And we are on time, exactly 10 p.m.
Thank you. Shout out to the chair. Thank you. Perfect timing.
First time ever.